Hey guys, how you going? Once again, this is Khavrion, and we are going to be talking about a game of infiNity. This is actually a streamed game, so if you want to go watch the stream, go over to the Dice Abides channel. I think it's part of their Tabletop Throwdown series. It's me as Steel Phalanx versus LordFrank as Aleph playing a game of Acquisition. I'm personally excited to do this video because I've learned a lot about playing Steel Phalanx and I've found things that I like in Steel Phalanx, and my hope was to be able to create a Battrep and a video where I could talk about some of the things that I liked about Steel Phalanx, and I think this video does a pretty good job of showcasing that. That said, I am not an expert in this stuff. The intent of this video is to create a touching off point that we can have discussions about rather than being some sort of definitive primer on how to play Steel Phalanx. So, that out of the way, let's get started. First things first, here's the map. Those of you who played in Vol's latest narrative campaign will recognize this as the Acquisition map. It is Nomads themed. You've got the little Nomad symbol off there in the distance. And I really like this map from an aesthetic perspective. I think it looks really good. It looks like a sort of a Car Wars busted up Badlands kind of thing. I just really like the aesthetic. I think the map is also pretty solid too, but I am very much a fan of Vol's style of maps, which I know not everybody cares for. But let's just before we even talk about anything else, I really want to take a look at this map and appreciate that it looks really cool. And if you want to grab it from Vol's map workshop mod, you can probably find it in the Operation Militant Purity box of maps. That out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. So I won the lieutenant role. I decided to choose deployment zone. I chose the blue side, which is over here, and I made my opponent deploy first. This is kind of risky because Acquisition really favors going second, and I was worried that my opponent was just going to take second turn, and I was not running a particularly aggressive, really get in your face, Rambo successfully with 15 orders or whatever type list. So I was a little bit worried that I'd have to do that, but I wanted to give myself a good showing of how the Steel Phalanx link works. And also I just tend to be a little bit more cautious about going straight for second. It always makes me nervous. So I decided to choose deployment zone. Fortunately, everything worked out. My opponent decided to go first, which worked out okay for me. So let's take it left to right with my opponent's deployment zone. He ran a fairly Steel Phalanx heavy list, so we'll get to see how some of these guys work in vanilla versus how they work in Steel Phalanx. So we have a Netrod, Lamed Flashbot. This is a Udbot paired with McKeon, who's over here. McKeon's the lieutenant. You have a Warcore, Ajax. This cable marker is a proxy hacker. There is a Thrakite FO right there on ARO duty, a Myrmidon for throwing smoke, I guess, a Shukra boarding shotgun, and he has another Netrod over here. There should be a third Netrod. Maybe there isn't. I'm not necessarily seeing it. There is a Liberto Mine Layer. I was convinced that this was Dart. I don't know why I was convinced of that, but I was. This is a Daleth sensor bot. You kind of need that for Acquisition, especially if you don't know who your opponent is, just in case somebody puts a hidden deployment guy right near the center. Crackout Renegade, Atalanta, and then this is a Proxy FO, and then this is a Proxy Mark IV AP Spitfire. So this is his list right here. And here's my list. So at the time of taking this picture, looks like I didn't put down my Anomatarkos markers, and upon putting them down, we actually realized that a small adjustment needed to be made. So I'll call that out when it is, but just taking this left to right, I'll go through my list. This is over here, a Daleth bot, sensor bot, same reason you need sensor for Acquisition, even though neither of us have had in deployment. It feels compulsory to have. This is a Lamed Flashbot. Here I have my Thrakite Anomatarkos. I was a single point short of creating the Anomatarkos that I like, so it's actually a marksman rifle Thrakite. I prefer the rocket launcher, but it's marksman rifle Thrakite. In the middle is the paramedic. Over here is the light rocket launcher Thrakite, and here is Alki, and she was supposed to be prone, actually. Don't know where the prone marker went, but she'll be prone. It's not going to make much of a difference. The key thing, though, that I'm doing as I'm deploying, because I know my opponent has deployed first, he's withheld the proxies and Atalanta, but I'm still pretty sure that he's got Atalanta, and I'm worried about this building. So these guys are all very carefully hiding from the top of this building. so that Atalanta can't just like climb up there and start gunning everyone down. So that's this half. You have a Netrod who landed here, a Warcore who is sort of guarding the Netrod. You have Ajax, Machaon, Phoenix, and you can't see him, but Akmon's right there. So that's my Myrmidon link over here. I really like this link. This link will get work done in this game, and sort of part of the point of this video is to talk about just how that link got work done. You got my other Lamed, you got my Netrod, and then my withheld piece was Atalanta, and she's sitting here. She's guarding the top of this building. She's also got like a really long line of fire down that way. My thinking is that my opponent is not going to take his Atalanta to fight my Atalanta, because that's just going to be basically a coin flip to see who wins. And so my thinking is that this will be a powerful ARO piece, watching a lot of lanes, but not so overly exposed that I tempt fate and cost Atalanta her life. Just to talk about that last little bit about the Anomatarchos, we have this guy obviously wants to be the leader, but this distance is greater than 8 inches, and I think, when you put the marker down, you'd be able to measure that distance is greater than 8 inches, so essentially what we have to do is we have to shuffle her in a little bit, and we have to move this guy in a little bit. It's a little bit awkward, but it is what it is, and I think the major takeaway of this is that Alki ends up being a little bit more exposed on this arrow than I might otherwise have liked, and that costs her life, but we'll see that when it happens. Here is, I think, a picture before we get started, and I'm basically going to talk you through Frank's first turn. So remember, Atalanta is over here. She is in Group 2, and the Proxy Mark IV with an AP Spitfire is right here. That's in Group 1. Those will primarily be the pieces that do stuff this first turn. Let's go ahead and start things off looking at things from his perspective on his side of the board. So he has Ajax here, and Ajax is going to come running around in this direction. But remember, I've got a whole bunch of stuff staring right at him. In fact, let's go ahead and take a brief look at that. This is from my perspective. I've stacked up a lot of stuff watching Ajax, who's right here. So if he comes around that corner, he's going to be dealing with a Flash Pulse bot, Phoenix, who is watching that one. Then they've got Ajax there, and they've got Akmon there. He's got a lot of stuff that he's got to gunfight through, and this is vanilla Ajax. He can't take cover, and he doesn't get the extra burst from the link. So I'm hoping that this is either an inefficient gunfight or one that he's not willing to take, and it turns out it is not one that he's willing to take. So instead, what he's going to do is he's going to start off on the right-hand side of the board and try to press in that direction. He first takes this Krakot and runs it out, doesn't do anything at all. Then he takes Atalanta, runs her up here, and shoots down this lane to kill one of my Thrakate. I had, stayed safe from the top of the roof, but forgotten about the fact that you could just run around the bottom. And then what he's going to do is he's going to try to take this AP Spitfire proxy and run it basically in that direction and hope to damage my order pool. This is that gunfight with Atalanta and the Thrakate. He first takes his Krakot and runs it up here impetuously. He then takes Atalanta, runs her to here, and then back to there to have a gunfight with my Thrakate, who's over there. You can't see it. The model's dead. I've already removed it from the board and put it in his little dead category. But what happens is there is a small risk that if I get a hit, then I'm going to use my templates and hurt the Krakot. But as it happens, I don't hit. I need a 6 because we're beyond 32 inches. I roll like a 10 and a 15 or something. And then Atalanta rolls like a 15 and an 18. 18, of course, is a crit. I am just exploded into tiny little meat giblets, each of which Atalanta has put a bullet through. It's very nice, and the Krakot is safe. Bit of a whoopsie on my end. I stayed safe from the top of the building, but I did not stay safe from this lane. Oh well. The next thing that happens is the AP Spitfire comes out to try to tussle with my Warcore. So the AP Spitfire has come from over here to here, and it is tussling with this Warcore. I initially start off and I crit him, which is probably a pretty good thing, but he manages to pass all the saves that he needs and is not stunned. And he ends up spending like 2 or 3 orders having this gunfight with this Warcore. It is a bit of a time sink for him, but he does end up putting the Warcore unconscious after spending probably more orders than he could afford to spend at this juncture, but Warcore's unconscious. The next thing he does is he takes his proxy and runs all the way through here. He has a gunfight with Alki over this way. I think he has a gunfight with the Lamed here as well, but does not. He neither wins nor gets stunned. I don't exactly remember the details. But he gets out here, he has a gunfight with Alki, takes her out, and then ends up running here to safety. So he has basically done very little damage to my order pool. He's just hit Alki with this particular run, and he's taken out a War Core. So not great, but he is still alive, and I think his thinking is that he is somewhat safe there. I do have the Daleth, which could potentially run around the corner, but remember that the Proxy Mark IV has a Nano Pulsar and 2 wounds and 4 armor, so I'm not thinking that I'll be able to kill it in one order without getting Nano Pulsared and put unconscious. Still, he is running low on orders at this point. I think he decides not to spend a command token and instead moves his Liberto up just a tiny little bit. As it happens, the Liberto can see down this lane. I asked Frank, my opponent, do you want to see down that lane? And he says, sure, why not? And so I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll take that. So the Liberto is seeing a little bit. The only other thing he does is he takes Atalanta, who is here, and moves there. And that's pretty much his turn. So one thing that I will point out, I've noticed about myself, is I take fewer screenshots when I'm thinking a lot about the game. So it is a commentary in my opponent's credit that I don't actually have that many screenshots from during my turn. So this is the board state at the start of my turn. I'll basically tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this Enormotarchos. I'm going to run Machaon this way and the rest of the link this way. I'm going to attempt to heal Alki and kill her. I'm going to then run that way. I'm going to get the War Core back up. And at this juncture, there's a Liberto mine right here. And when I'm planning all this out, my opponent is running 10 orders in Group 1, 4 orders in Group 2. For some reason that I don't think makes sense to anybody except me, I'm just absolutely convinced that this is Dart. As soon as I saw the 10 orders in Group 1, I was like, yeah, it's Dart. Even though it clearly wasn't. It was just obviously a mine, but I thought it was Dart. I got it in my head. So I'm going to run up here, and my plan is to run Ajax around this corner and be like, ha, I see Dart. And it's just a mine. I just have to dodge it. It's dumb. Whoops. But the other reason for coming over here is I want to get on top of this car. Ajax is super tall, and if Ajax is on top of this car, he can shoot the proxy over this wall. And so that is my plan. Run over here, heal everybody, kill the Dart that actually is a mine, take out the proxy, and then have a few orders to deploy defensively. And essentially what actually happens is pretty much exactly that. The only other thing to add is I take Atalanta. She walks over to here where she can see this Liberto. She attempts to shoot the Liberto. She discovers, but she does not succeed the shoot. The Liberto crits the dodge and backs off. So then she returns to this position, but the Liberto is still standing there. So with my main group, having killed this proxy, I then run over this way, I kill the Liberto, and I return here to safety. And one of the comments that I got after the game from the folks commentating is that this retreat, this moving my link back to safety, was actually a pretty smart thing to do. I personally was mostly just thinking, this is acquisition, I need to maintain my strength for later parts of the game. But the other thing that's important to remember is this link has a lot of value concentrated in it, and it is important to spend just a couple extra orders making sure that they're safe instead of, grasping for that extra kill. I could have reached out and tried to kill the Krakot. I did not do that, and I think it was a good thing that I didn't do that. This is where I ended up with the position. I am still very much afraid of Atalanta, who's hiding back over there. Who is on ARO is basically just Phoenix, and Phoenix is basically just seeing to right here. So my thinking is he's going to have to spend a bunch of orders walking Atalanta out to see Phoenix, and Phoenix is the only guy that's watching. So that's pretty much all Atalanta's going to kill. Also, I am getting lots of arrows in this direction because you can't see him, but remember, Ajax is right here, and I don't want Ajax to come running around and run my day. So that's where I end up, defensive position, doing my best to maintain and preserve the link. Last thing to comment, I did remark that Phoenix was on ARO. The Enormotarchos Smoker is sitting next to him, but I believe Machaon or Akmon or somebody was the link leader. It wasn't Phoenix. I wasn't putting the one guy that's going to die as the Enormotarchos leader. So this is Frank's turn 2. So the first thing he does is he moves this Thorakite FO from Group 2 into Group 1. So he has a full 10 orders in Group 1. And the second thing he does is he has Ajax use his Impetuous Order. Now Ajax comes around here, and he is thinking that he is going to try to dodge off that Impetuous Order against my flashbulb spot. However, as the stunned marker next to him might suggest, I win the face-to-face roll, and Ajax is stunned. Now, I'm not saying that dodging was necessarily a bad move. The Impetuous Order is sort of a free order, and if you are going to get stunned from a Lamed, you might as well have that be on your free order. But it does mean that Ajax is not able to come down and threaten this side. He was thinking that he would come through here, tussle with my arrows, and probably survive because Ajax is really tough, then kill the Lamed, and then come over here and take out Atalanta. And then once he's taken out Atalanta, he's going to take his own Atalanta and get it, up top on here in a really commanding arrow position, and that's going to be that. I think that's what he's thinking with Ajax, but Ajax gets stunned, and that's not going to happen. Instead, what he's going to end up doing is he's going to end up taking the proxy and doing the same thing. Now, this is actually a picture from the stream. I was thinking real hard about what was going to happen to me if Ajax had gotten through or somebody got through. So I didn't actually take that many good screenshots that'll reconstruct this, but let me just go ahead and reconstruct it now. This proxy is basically going to go this way to here, and then it's going to try to run through to here to use that shotgun on the Lamed and also on Atalanta. Here's the problem. Problem number one is this Warcore who I managed to resurrect. The Warcore is going to make a successful discover, which is going to slow down the proxy by an extra full order because of the fact that it's got a recamo. The second problem is I've got Machaon and Phoenix both having this really long arrows here. That's like more than one full order of movement, which means that if the proxy gets discovered, then I am highly likely to be able to get some shots off on the proxy as it's just kind of standing there. And those are bad things for the proxy. So that's the plan. As it happens, the plan does not work out. The proxy basically comes over to here, runs out to here, gets discovered, runs up here, double template into the Lamed, eats a hit from the rocket launcher from Phoenix, and burns to death. And it's not even here because it's already burned to death. So proxy spent a lot of orders running around here trying to get here, and all it does is manage to junk a Lamed. To me, this is where the game really starts to become in my favor, because at this point, my opponent is now down to just one turn of orders after this and really hasn't accomplished all that much. I think maybe the proxy also pushed a button on that console, but it's only turn 2 and my order pool is almost entirely intact. Group 2 has taken some damage, but Group 1 really isn't in that much trouble. He does have a few orders left, though. He takes the Krakot, runs the Krakot up here, and manages to spec fire my Daleth. That's annoying because it's an order that I've lost. And then the other thing that I think he's going to do is he's going to take Machaon, who is back here in the corner. Machaon's going to run up here, and his Udbot is going to run up in this direction, and maybe the Warcore advances. I'm not entirely sure. It's not super pertinent. But he's basically getting this Udbot up there for a play to run over and push the button. Or maybe not push the button, just sit there next to it in base-to-base contact for scoring. He has Atalanta left watching this lane, which is something I'm going to have to deal with. But with that, it's my turn. So this is my position. Here's Atalanta off in the distance. She can't actually see anything, though. And more or less what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this link, and I'm going to run it over here. There's a Krakot over there that I'm going to kill. I'm going to run it over here. I'm going to take out Atalanta. I'm going to try to push the button or be near the button to push it next turn and basically do as much damage as I can. Here is another screenshot that I took from the stream. Again, I was thinking a lot about what I was going to do and not a lot about taking pictures for this battle report, so glad it was streamed so I could come get this. Basically, here's the link. They're going to run to here. They're going to run to here and kill the Krakot. They're going to run to here. I'm going to slingshot Akbon in that direction while running Ajax in that direction to take out Atalanta, who's right there. While fighting, I really want to kill this. This is a proxy FO. They have EM grenades, and if I know Frank, then what he's going to do is he's going to spec fire EM grenades on me until my lieutenant is isolated. I don't want that. I've got to kill this guy. So I slingshot Akbon in that direction to try to fight this guy. I do fight this guy, but I decide Akmon's not the right one after failing for a couple of orders, so I swap with Machaon or something, and Machaon does kill this guy and also manages to put this unconscious, but because I was dumb in my movement, Machaon eats an EM grenade, and Akbon is hit by the blast. McKayon's not hurt. Akmon is. Akmon gets isolated. I'm then thinking Atalanta's got to get put down, so I take my second group. They don't really have that many orders, but I move my second group up to here. I'm trying to just shoot the unconscious body of Atalanta. It doesn't work, but this link is positioned so that in the future they might be able to do something. And here's the final position of my Inomatarkos. You can see that Akmon is isolated. That's really dumb. Ajax is the point man right here. He is trying to take cover from a threat coming in on this direction, which will leave him vulnerable to threats coming in from that direction. But, you know, I figure he's a big boy. He can take it. McKayon's hiding back here prone. He's the lieutenant. And Phoenix is right there also watching. So that's the situation. So I'm still going to use this picture because, once again, I don't really have that many pictures. I was thinking about the game, not necessarily what I was going to do. But at this point, the game is pretty thoroughly in my favor. Nothing that my Aleph opponent has can really threaten this link in any particularly serious way. What he's going to do is he's going to take this Shukra boarding shotgun, run up to here, and try to take out Ajax. I think it puts a wound on Ajax before dying to the nanopulsars. He's again going to take McKayon. McKayon's down here. McKayon's going to run up. He's going to try to throw smoke to block off Phoenix, so the smoke is going to be like right here or something. I don't remember exactly. And then he's going to spend a bunch of orders shooting Ajax. He does manage to kill Ajax, which is kind of nice, but that's basically all he accomplishes, is killing Ajax and then getting McKayon a little bit closer to the center. And then it turns to my turn 3. This is a picture at the end of the game. I didn't take many while I was doing it because I was focusing on the game. But basically what's going to happen is I'm going to start with Akmon, who's right here. He's going to use his irregular order to go push this button. He's an engineer, so he's very likely to succeed. And he has a tactical awareness after that if he needs to try again. But he succeeds. I then use his tactical awareness to fix himself. I then take my link and I start running it this way. And I throw smoke here. At some point, I realize that my opponent is trying to take his McKayon, who I think started here, and just dodge him forward until he gets in contact with the console. That's actually not a bad plan, but the end result of it is I have to dissolve my own link. I slingshot Phoenix back to that console so I can have someone touching it. I leave Akmon there. Akmon doesn't have stealth, and I just take McKayon and I run him all the way over here in this particular case. My opponent had been counting, I think, on this War Core to protect this lane, or at least stall me. What ends up happening is I just walk past him and I eat a flash pulse and I get stunned. But McKayon's a doctor and physician, heal thyself. He removes the stun state on himself and is able then to pull off the rest of the mission. And basically what he does is he walks into base contact with this Udbot that was moved up here. I don't remember if I mentioned the Udbot, but while McKayon was gunfighting, the Udbot ran into base contact with this thing just to be touching it. So I move into melee, I cut the Udbot's head off, and then I push the button, and that is pretty much it. Ajax is trying to dodge over here, but I think he fails his dodge the first couple of times. I have stealth too, so I'm not really giving him that many opportunities, and I've got NWI, so even if he succeeds, it's going to be tricky for him to actually do anything, but he does fail his dodge, and I am able to kill the Udbot and push the button. So at the end of the game, my opponent has secured the HVT. Mine is like right here, and Ajax is within range. His HVT is over there, and I got nobody over there, but I've gotten everything else. I control the center, I've pushed all the buttons, and I'm touching all the buttons, and that's the game. So in any event, just a last little bit of commentary. One of the things that we had talked about at the beginning was how there's a lot of Steel Phalanx characters on either side, and what this does is it shows you some of the ways that having the Steel Phalanx in Steel Phalanx can be beneficial. One, Ajax got stunned because he couldn't take cover. I rolled an 11 on that, and he would have been, that would have missed, except for the fact that he couldn't take cover. Not only that, but Ajax kind of likes having smoke with him in order to cover his own advance. So Ajax really likes being in Inomatarkos. Similarly, McKayon is a really great utility piece, but he's not much of a gunfighter. The extra +1 burst on the smoke and on the combi rifle is really effective for him. And so, you know, when my opponent tried to use his McKayon to fight Ajax, he spent his whole turn, he killed my Ajax, but really accomplished not much else. And perhaps part of that was because he was using a McKayon that just didn't have a link bonus. Phoenix didn't do a whole lot this game, but, you know, sometimes Phoenix does a lot, and he didn't this time, but I'm not going to begrudge Phoenix that. Finally, Akmon. I don't usually take Akmon. He's kind of like the last one to include. He's got tactical awareness. That's kind of nice. But on this particular mission, I figured if I got to go first, I want that tactical awareness just so I can get that little bit extra of an alpha strike if I need to pull it off. Plus, he's an engineer. You get an engineer bonus on the consoles, and that's kind of nice too. Lastly, I suppose it's kind of fun to be able to repair your net rods and your lamets. It doesn't happen very often, but occasionally you can use Akmon to just fix stuff up as you're running around. You know, move 4 inches, shoot a burst 2 gizmo kit, and maybe you get lucky and you get your lamet back. So I don't mind having Akmon, but he's not a usual inclusion in this link. In any event, that's the game. I was really excited to get a chance to play Steel Phalanx and have that get streamed. I really like that Steel Phalanx link with Akmon and Ajax and Phoenix and Machaon, especially the last 3. And I really feel like this game showed off what is fun and powerful about that combo in terms of just being able to move around the map and be really tough and do lots of damage. Likewise, I have played against Frank a bunch, and I think he's a great opponent, and I would happily play again. And yeah, thanks for watching.